Jonathan Williams plays Roger in this production of Rent. I actually think Roger's one of my favourite characters in the show, because we kind of experience his heartache and the fact that he really wants to let his feelings go, and he can't. He's typically British in some ways, isn't he? That he won't push himself over the edge.
He has got that kind of stiff upper lip thing going on, hasn't he? But yeah, I think he's afraid of his feelings more than anything.
Well, he's been hurt, hasn't he? That's the thing.
He's very, very guarded, tries to hold his cards close to his chest when he can, but also is kind of guilty of wearing his heart on his sleeve, I think. So he's quite an interesting character to play, because you can just kind of let it out. You know, he vents quite a lot, but only to the audience, not necessarily to his fellow actors. Well,
I must admit, his friendship with Mark, I can never quite get to the bottom of. I don't quite know how they became friends and flatmates.
I think they go back a hell of a long way. Yes. I think they know each other kind of like brothers. You know, there's almost a sibling relationship there, I think, you know, which is why they're kind of comfortable with shouting at each other as well as just having a laugh together. They know each other inside out, which is why, you know, it's kind of important for me and Tim to get to know each other pretty well as well, you know.
He's a character who hasn't set foot outside of the apartment in 6 months, I think it is. And finally, he manages it, but it takes him a while.
Well, yeah, I mean, every step he's taking as far as, like, he's almost an agoraphobic since he came out of rehab, you know, and every step he takes, especially, you know, with Mimi forcing herself on him like she does, you know, I mean, that frightens him to death.
Well, I'm not surprised. She's so full on, isn't she?
He's so intrigued, and it's exciting for him. He's also, you know, he's, like it says in one of the songs, he's got baggage, which, you know, he later then realises so is she. So, I mean, that kind of gives them something in common, and it's one of the bravest steps he takes, I think, by pursuing that relationship.
So was Roger the part you would have wanted to play?
Yeah, all day long, absolutely. I've always wanted to play the part. Since I first heard the musical, I wanted to play it. And
why?
The music kind of suits my voice.
Well, that makes it a bit easier, doesn't it?
The character, I just feel like I've got a lot in common with him. I think, you know, if I had those, I mean, I haven't got those similar problems, but if I did, I think I'd probably deal with them in a similar way. I'm kind of like that. I go inside myself. I'm quite internal. I tend to think things through myself before I kind of share my feelings with other people, or unless I completely lose control and then I'm an explosion, and that's, you know, that's exactly what Roger does. You know, he's quite a mystery.
Is Roger an easy sing?
God, no. I think, you know, when you compare him to other characters from other shows, he's right up there with things like Judas, Jean Valjean, which I've just done 4 times this week.
So the vocals are really going to struggle today then?
Knackered.
Yeah. Well, you're smiling.
Oh yeah, I always smile.
Punch drunk, isn't it?
That's what it is. Yeah, no, that's a good way of putting it. Yeah, absolutely. Punch drunk. Yeah. But no, yeah, it is a tough sing for me. I mean, a lot of people come into rehearsals and they say, I'm going to mark this today to protect my voice. I actually find that more difficult. Some of the notes that Roger sings, if I don't really go for it, then it's going to, what we call a Scooby. You know what I mean? We call it a Scooby. I mean, I don't know whether they call that everywhere else, but in Les Mis we call it a Scooby. If you don't fully commit to the vocals, as well as like the acting, but the vocals especially, if you don't fully commit to them, then you'll Scooby, you'll lose it, and it'll...
Well, I was going to say, this must be escapism, but really, I suppose, the subject matter for Rent, in terms of what happens to some of the characters, and also, obviously, what happens in Les Miserables, you really shouldn't be smiling, you really should be as miserable as sin.
You're absolutely right, but I'll tell you what, just on Les Mis for a second, because it is such a miserable bloody show, I love it. I dearly love it. I hold it very close to my
heart. It's my favourite musical, if I'm totally honest with you.
I always say it to people, I think it's the Rolls Royce of musicals. You're absolutely right. I mean, you've got to be that serious, but unfortunately, because of that, and because of that permanent focus you've got, if someone walks on stage one day and they've got the wrong shoes on, or, you know, they accidentally put the wrong hat on, that actually makes you almost corpse, because you're having to be so serious about it, the subject matter. You know, that's all it takes to throw you. With Rent, the awareness it brings and the subject matter that we deal with is so important in this day and age. It's an important message to people who haven't come into contact with situations like AIDS and HIV and drug abuse, homosexuality, transsexuality, all of these things which a lot of people sit at homes on their living room sofas, you know, watching TV on a Saturday night and never even have to deal with. It's out there, and sooner or later someone's going to have to deal with it. So it's a good way of educating people. But yeah, the subject matter is pretty serious, so we have to take it pretty seriously. But the music's so great that you can unleash all sorts of emotion through it. You know, you can laugh through it, and you can cry through it, and you can shout, and you can whisper. It's good.
So how did you get involved with this particular production?
Through my wife, actually, Kelly. She was in We Will Rock You last contract, and she met up with the girls who were running Mum's the Word. They invited her, and when they put this together, she just basically said, well, why don't you ask my husband, Jonathan, to play Roger? He's been dying to play it for years, you know. I mean, opportunities have kind of come up, and when it first was in the Shaftesbury in London, and it went bust when I was offered the job, and it went bust before that, so I didn't get to do it. Then somebody else asked me if I wanted to come and be seen for it to go on tour, and I'd already moved back to Wales and was doing the club circuit and corporate gigs, and I had loads of gigs running up, so I said I couldn't. And then somebody else offered, you know, said, why don't you come and get seen for it to play it in Germany? And me and Kelly had just bought a place, and we just got a puppy, and basically we'd said to each other for the first year that the puppy's life, we're not going to go on any international tour. So it's just so many times I've just missed it by that much.
But doesn't that then worry you that maybe there's a greater being saying you shouldn't be doing it?
No. On this one, I am going to be in control of my own destiny. You know, for once in my life. Normally, I just sit there in the lap of the gods, and you know, sometimes I'm a bit ill-motivated because of that, because I think, you know, whatever happens is going to happen. But, you know, I don't know whether that's just an excuse for laziness sometimes. I don't know. But this time I just, you know, the opportunity came up and I just jumped at it. I would have bit someone's arm off.
Well, continue to smile, continue to enjoy it, and good luck on the night itself, Jonathan. Thank you.
Thank you very much.